Hello, this is Dr. Arnessa Bennett. Welcome to the show. It's been a while. You see me on Queen to Queen TV, but now we're going to do a Dr. Arnessa show today. And I have a wonderful young lady, Michelle, and she has something special to talk to us about today, a brand new now. Doesn't that sound good? Michelle is going to talk to us and tell us what this is all about. So Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am so delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're gonna have to next time we see Kim, we're gonna have to give her a big hug for introducing us. And even though we haven't actually met, sometimes this social media and the Zoom, you start talking and you feel like you've been knowing each other forever. And that already I feel like I know you with your energy. Because I think our energies are matched.
Yes. Well, that's Kim. That's that Kim connection going on.
Yes, exactly. So first, give our audience a little history about who you are.
Okay. All right, sure. So the best way that I can tell you about who I am is to tell you about who I used to be.
Okay.
And who I used to be is somebody that battled with their weight, that battled with their body, and was ashamed of how I looked. And I will tell you, Arnessa, for 42 years, I was a yo-yo dieter. I was a yo-yo dieter. I was a food addict. I suffered with cravings, and I'm 62 now. And it wasn't until I was 60 years old that I was finally able to say I am comfortable in my own skin.
Well, I'm 61 and I'm at that point myself.
Yes.
Where I'm celebrating who I have created myself to be all these years.
Right. Yeah, isn't that funny? I mean, it's like this tug of war that goes on, It's like when you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, that some people are blessed to get it in their 50s. I was just a slow learner, But I will tell you what happened is that, I had sort of something happened with me really when we had that recession in 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
The economic downturn really made me start to look at my life. And it made me start to look at my life because I had to, because it got flipped on its head. It got flipped on its head, and not having the access to resources that I used to have. I will tell you, I mean, there was a point when I didn't have a car. I didn't have a car, and and in some ways, not having that car became the portal to my transformation and my change.
Wow.
And the reason was that I still had to work. I still had to get to work, but I didn't have a car. So I had to start walking.
Oh, okay.
Right. And once I started to walk, I started to see a difference in my clothes. And then because I was walking, in that time that I was walking, I was spending more time in my own head and talking to myself and evaluating my priorities and kind of getting things on track. And so for me, it was a moment just to stop, it was just to stop and think about all the areas in my life that I wasn't happy with. And it was most of them. Like it was really most of them. And go ahead.
You remind me of some of my clients. When I ask them different questions, they say, "Oh, I don't really know." And then I say, "I need to introduce you to someone." And they go like, who? I said, "I need to introduce you to you."
Yes.
You need to get to know you.
You need to
and that's what happened.
That's exactly right. Because when you get to a certain point, there's just like so much stuff swirling around that diverts your attention, right? That diverts your attention. You don't even get to focus on who you are.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what I found out once I started to pay attention to my eating habits, is that there's so much stuff swirling around food and eating and hunger that oftentimes we don't even know that we're hungry. We mistake other emotions for hunger. I mean, I'm kind of skipping ahead,
Like boredom, you're bored, you eat.
absolutely, absolutely,
Angry, you eat.
absolutely. But it doesn't show up as that. It just shows up as I want to eat something. You don't say I'm bored, I think I'm going to eat, or I'm happy,
Uh-huh.
I want to eat. You just think, oh, I think I'm gonna get something to eat. But it's not hunger. It's this emotional thing.
Right.
And what I figured out in my process and how I was able to get brand new and get ahead of the yo-yo dieting thing,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I figured out that in the past, I just attacked the food piece, the food and the exercise, and I didn't do the mental work. And so I maybe at one point maybe I was a 24, right? And I would be a 24, and then I would get down to a 14,
Mm-hmm.
which is a black woman 6. So I
Yeah.
get to
Yeah.
14, right?
That's a good size.
I get to a 14. But the thing is, and it was only temporary because in my head, I was still a size 24. I
I,
was
I
still
I feel what you're saying.
I was still a size 24. But I didn't make the connection. But once I go ahead.
It's like you lose the weight and you're a smaller size, but you're not living like that size.
Right,
You
right,
living like the big girl.
right, right.
And
Exactly.
and if something has to happen in your mind in order for you to think like the smaller girl.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
and that and a lot of that is attached to our food stories, which is what my book is about. And I'll get to that in a second. But here's the underlying thing, if you will, is that I figured out that my problem was I ate too much of the wrong thing for the wrong reason, and I did it unconsciously. Too much of the wrong thing for the wrong reasons and unconsciously. And what happens is that there are books and books and books all about that too much of the wrong thing. And we start with that. You get a diet book, you go to a diet program, it's always, oh, what can I have? What can I not have? Right? And
Mm-hmm.
you never
Mm-hmm.
deal with why. So if
Yeah.
we deal with the conscious raising piece and the why piece, then that makes the right thing, right, and the right amount much easier to do if we work on the foundational piece. And so my whole book of food stories is 21 stories about eating for the wrong reasons, and where that comes from, why we think food has superpower, why we believe food can keep us from being bored, when the only problem that food will solve is hunger. It will not save us. It will not comfort us, even though we think that it will. It will not give us joy. It is not celebration. It is not any of that. It can't cure unhappiness. It can't cure fear. It can't cure discomfort. It can't cure any of that, but we think that it can. And the reason that we think that it can is because of early experiences
That's
and,
what I was
and memories that
I
are
was I was just gonna say that. I can remember growing up, we would go to my grandmother's house. The first thing she would do when we come through the door, she would hug us and say, "You want something to eat? You hungry?"
yeah,
And we like, "What you got?"
right,
And
right.
it's not that we were hungry. We just thought, okay, we're going over there. They're showing us love. There's
It's
always something
love.
good to eat.
It's
And
love.
I think that was their way of, especially Black people. That's what they would have, something good to eat.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we
And
get it's love, right? And so
mhm,
that example that you just gave was me in my experience with peach cobbler, right?
mhm,
Just and I want to backtrack for just a second. The very first story in my book is a story about my uncle, and this was just like an aha moment. The story about my uncle is this: and this was in the mid 1990s. We were at his farm and out in Texas, out in the country on a farm, and we were having a barbecue. And we had all the food that you have: potato salad and cake and ribs and
mhm.
watermelon and all that. And so I was like, oh, watermelon. Oh my God, yeah, we're gonna get some of that. And I'm like, Billy, want some of this watermelon? That's my uncle. You want some of this watermelon? And he's like, no. And I'm like, no, what do you don't want to, you what? I don't eat watermelon. What do you mean you don't eat water? Everybody eats watermelon. Why don't you? You don't like it? Do you not like it? Is that what? He says, no, I just don't eat it. Well, I'm not letting this story go, right? I'm not letting you, of course, why could you not? And I just pestered him. And he told me that when he was a kid, maybe 7 or 8 years old, that he and some buddies stole a watermelon from a neighbor's garden. And when my grandfather, his father, found out about it, he gave him a beating that stuck with him for his entire life.
Wow.
And here's the thing. My grandfather was a church trustee. He wasn't trying to let anybody think that his son was a thief or that his son had to steal food that they couldn't provide for them. And my uncle and his buddies, they might not have even been hungry. You know, they might have just been mischievous. It might have just been hot. And they, wanted something to cool off, but that beating was so severe. That beating was so severe that my uncle never ate watermelon again in life. And he was 70 years old.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, Arnessa, it hit me like, and I thought to myself, that's where cravings come from. Because if somebody can have an experience with food that is so traumatic, so painful, so visceral, that they never, ever eat it again, then the opposite has to be true. The opposite has to be true, that we have an experience around food that is so wonderful and so pleasurable, and it brings up such good feelings for us. It makes it feel so warm and comforting and comforting and loving, that every time we have that food, that feeling comes up and we want that food.
Yeah.
And the craving and the problem and the issue is this, is that it is not the food. It's the feeling that we're after.
The emotion that the food represents.
Exactly. And as soon as we are able to identify the story, as soon as we're able to identify the story that brings up that emotion and separate the emotion from the food, then we can break the habit that is keeping us trapped and obese. Because I am so on this, because I look at the statistics and I see 4 out of 5 of my sisters, and this is meaningful to me, are obese or overweight. And that number keeps growing and growing and growing. And it's hard. I think it's harder for us specifically because we use food as pleasure.
Right.
And so you're having stresses, or I don't like to call them stresses, but moments throughout the day when you feel like you don't have any power or you don't have any control, or things are uncomfortable for you, then food is an easy place to go to and get some pleasure to mask the stuff that you don't want to deal with, that you're actually going to have to deal with, right? And then you do that, and then now you got to deal with that weight issue too, because that pleasure was only temporary.
Right.
So as soon as we figure out that we got to deal with the thing, we got to deal with the thing. It's not our relationship with food. It's our relationship with ourselves. Because as soon as we fix our relationship with ourselves, then we don't have to worry about the food. And I hate
your whole world will change.
Your whole world will change. Your world will change. And I'm telling you, I get so you got me started. You started this train.
Let me ask you this. Now, you have this term called living large. What does that mean?
Okay.
Leaving large. Leaving large.
Leaving large. Yeah. So leaving large is the name of my book, right? And and what it is just it is leaving the large way of thinking behind. It is leaving that in the past, and it's leaving because once transformation isn't something that just happens. Just like I'm transformed and now I'm set. Transformation is, you're always in process. You're always leaving. You're always transforming. You're always growing. You're always learning how to be better, right? Because the thing is that all these issues around food and all that, that's always going to be coming at you. So you're always practicing the habit. You're always practicing being new. So you have to leave large in order to be brand new.
So why do people use food in the wrong way? Why is that?
Okay. I think that we're taught early on to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think and the the messages get crossed. They get
Okay.
they get mixed up. And then see,
Mm-hmm.
like it's like with my uncle. Like when my uncle told me that story, at the end of the story, I asked my uncle, I said, well, Billy, do you think maybe the lesson was supposed to be thou shalt not steal? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's what the
Mm-hmm.
lesson was supposed to be.
Right, right. All in the perspective.
Right. All right. But I said, Billy, wasn't the lesson supposed to be thou shalt not steal? My uncle said to me, I don't eat watermelon. I mean, so
Different perspective. It's
it,
two ways to look at the thing.
but the thing is like when you're a kid, you don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
you attach whatever it is that you attach to it. And
Right.
I'll give you I'll give you this other example. And sometimes it's hard for me because I don't have children, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so any sort of example I give like this, you have to just like take it with a grain of salt. But
Okay.
I was in the airport.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the airport a while back, and this was when we were traveling freely. And there was a
Mm-hmm.
mother pushing her child in a stroller, right? And she was surely trying to get to, get to a flight.
Mm-hmm.
And the child maybe was 2 years old or so, was
Mm-hmm.
anxious in this stroller. And she stopped, she had some little snacks. Now I don't remember now exactly what the snack was, but she stopped and gave this kid a snack as he was anxious while she was pushing through the stroller.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it and I thought to myself, if that child is hungry, and a mother knows her child, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, if that child was hungry, then that was the appropriate thing. But
Mm-hmm.
if that child was scared, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the airport with all these people and
Mm-hmm.
we're rushing, and he feels the anxiety from the mother, but
Mm-hmm.
and what she did was give him some Ritz crackers. I don't know. He now he knows what that fear is, that anxiety is, and she's just solved it with this Ritz cracker. Whereas,
Or it could be
or
like a pacifier.
right, or maybe if she had a little more time, I don't know. But if she had been a place where she could just stop the stroller and pick him up and just like hug him and say, it's going to be all right.
You're right.
I know
Talk
this
to him.
is strangers, and just comfort him, put him back in the stroller and keep going. It could have been the same experience.
Right.
But now early on, if that wasn't the case and he was just nervous about being, and he got crackers, now what he knows is that, crackers is what solves this.
Or something, food, something.
Right.
Eat something that's gonna help me get through this.
Yeah, food is what solves this. Or even
Mm-hmm.
you think about, I think about the time one of the stories that I have in the book is about how when I was little, and I wasn't little, I was big. I was big and little. I was big and little, and I wanted a hula hoop, right? But the message from my grandparents was that you're too fat for a hula hoop. You don't need to be out there with a hula hoop all big like that.
What?
But now I'm despondent. I'm despondent and depressed and sad because I can't do what all the other kids. Well, here, have some peach cobbler, you'll feel better, right? So how many times?
Yeah.
How many times do people with kids that they play some sort of sports, or they do something and they're kind of disappointed, and their parents say, well, come on, sweetie, I'll take you and get some ice cream.
Yeah.
And I'll make and that's how we start making thinking that it's the food.
Yeah, the correlation between the two.
Exactly. Whereas the same thing, if you're disappointed or something happens that and you're a kid and your parent says, well, baby, let's just sit here and talk about it for a little while. You don't have to have the food, but
Right.
if you don't feel like you're in control, or you don't know the right thing to say, but what you do know is ice cream is sweet and pleasurable, cookies
Yeah.
is sweet and pleasurable, and I can give this as a sign of love, and my kid will know it, and that's when things start getting mixed up.
Okay, so what is the best thing to eat if you're stressed? Nothing.
Yeah, I love that question. I love that question. I love that question. And the question the thing that I come back with is the only problem that food will solve is hunger.
Yes.
That's the only problem
That is it.
that is it.
And you gotta know, and myself, I can look back when I was younger. I didn't know my body was telling me I was full. I just ate, kept eating because, oh, this is good. You know, you're
Right.
supposed to eat. And then back in the day, whatever they put on your plate, you got to eat everything on your plate, you know.
And that Arnessa right there, that's a food story. That is why when we get diet books and diet programs and things like that, and first of all, if we don't even realize that we're hungry, we can't stick to it. But if the program says, eat until you're full, or only eat half, or something like that, or throw away everything in your cabinet that's not on this program, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. If you grew up in this house, you eat everything on your plate. We work too hard. Money is not doesn't grow on trees. We're not throwing away any food. If you
Mm-hmm.
grow up and that's your food story, you can't do the first thing that the diet book tells you to do. You can't even do it. And now that makes everything else suspect. So we
Right.
have to peel back that stuff and say, if I'm on a program that is asking me to change, when we come up
Mm-hmm.
against resistance to that change, there's a food story in there that's causing that resistance. So we got to step back and figure out what that story is that's blocking us from being able to move forward.
Well, one of my food stories as I became older and more, I guess, more in tune to who I wanted to be as a person was that I don't have to eat everything on on my plate. It's all right if I leave food on my plate. And even because I even had a thing where I couldn't throw away the food, like I would eat so much and then I'm gonna have to save it. And then I'm like, well, if it's over a day, I'm not gonna eat it now. You know what I do now because I do intermittent fasting. So when I do eat, I can't eat all my food if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I eat part like for lunch. I eat my food. What's left, usually I'll eat it for dinner, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I want a snack, it might be popcorn or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I have learned to through the intermittent fasting is just to I don't have to have a lot of food like I used to.
Hey,
And I don't know if
right.
it's because I'm older, because this is my 61st chapter. And on this particular chapter,
You are
I,
looking
I
fabulous now.
well, thank you, but I don't have to have a lot of food like I
Mm-hmm.
thought I did in the past.
Mm-hmm. And you know what as we're sitting here, talking about this, what comes up for me is that there's this issue with how we manage food, is what I say, with how we manage food. There's a lot of layers to it, and it's very complex. And
Hmm.
I think it's very complex in the Black community specifically, or even in the community where people grew up without resources, and food is and not and being hungry, and what that means, and it being associated with lack.
Right.
And when you think about stories that people have. Oh well, if we're going to have Sunday dinner, we have to have three meats. Like, but that
And you have to have dessert.
that comes from some fear. That comes from some fear around food, and not being able to have access to it, and lack, and what that means, and
Hmm.
being able to provide for your family, and all of
Yes.
that we have to like work through, and first of all acknowledge and be conscious of the emotion, and then separate it, and then just understand that the only problem that food solves is hunger. And one of the things I talk about is, I used to be, Arnessa, there wasn't a brunch in Washington D.C. that I didn't know, right? I was, I was on a first name basis with every bunch place in D.C. And the thing is that I felt like, now that I look at it, is that
Hmm.
if I didn't make a certain amount of trips,
Hmm.
that I wasn't getting my money's worth.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so this notion of free food, right? What, would I eat that much if I had to pay for every trip
Yeah.
separately? Probably
Hmm.
not. You're right. Would you be able to recognize hunger? So we have to figure out, why am I really eating this? Am I just eating this because it's here? Am I eating it because it's free? Am I eating it because somebody that I love made it for me and I don't want to hurt their feelings?
Yeah, and I
Right,
had to hurt some feelings because
right, right.
when I kind of gave up sugar, and people always want to give you a piece of cake, and I had to just, people know now, if you're gonna give them some candy, it needs to be sugar-free candy.
Right, right,
You know,
right.
and they are nuts. I'll eat. I love nuts, but I don't have to have the sweet stuff.
Cashews,
I,
cash,
well, I like
cashews are my
almonds and
kryptonite.
pecans. Those are my
Oh, okay,
favorites, and
okay.
walnuts.
All right. Well, cashews are my kryptonite.
But because when you're a speaker, they always like, when you have your writer, what would you like in your room? And I always say nuts. If you put some nuts in there, some water, I'm good. That'll be my little snack. I
Yeah.
don't have to have candy. Candy is not cookies and candy.
Mhm.
That's just not my thing. Some good
Yeah.
nuts, and I'm all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Sugar was my thing. I want to tell you this. We were talking about when people give you things, and I was talking about eating, and sometimes eating out of obligation,
Yeah,
right? Because you
yeah,
don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
right.
It's
Especially if you
like
go to a
one,
lot of banquets like I do.
right.
I did.
And so one of the letters in brand new is in, well, two of the letters in brand new is in, but the second letter is no is the new yes. That's when we deal
Okay.
with that in. And I teach people in the course how to get past their own resistance to saying no. And and a lot of times is you don't want to hurt the person's feelings and you don't know what to say, you don't know how to
Yeah,
frame it,
yeah,
you don't know how to come up against that.
yeah,
Again, that's a relationship with ourself kind of thing,
yeah.
not a relationship with food. Or wait,
Right.
what are they going to think, what are they going to think if I say no, right?
Well,
Or
being a Southern girl, you gotta always try to make sure everybody's happy and
right,
not hurt anybody's feelings. So
right,
you
right,
can get
right,
300 pounds because
right.
you eating all these cakes and pies and
Yeah,
cookies.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes, Arnessa, you just got to take all those cakes and pies, put it on a plate, put some foil on top of it, take it home and throw it away. And
Right.
then call them and tell them how good it was.
Right. I asked somebody else, I got some cake. You want this cake?
Sometimes you got to do it, but because one of the people in my group, again, she this kind of like tore at me a little bit, because she said, I've been on the program, and I, I've been good about 2 weeks, and I'm spending the night with my sister, and she wants to have pizza. I don't know what to do. And and I look at a situation like that and I think, yeah, that's a relationship with yourself, not with
Hmm.
pizza. Having confidence to stand in your own power about
Hmm.
what you want to eat, and getting to the root of why do you think what your sister wants to do around eating is more important than what you want to do around eating.
Yeah.
What? And so we have to always, it's a journey of asking why. Why is this food more important than the body I want? Why
Yes.
am I choosing this food now?
And
Why?
why is it always other people's thoughts and feelings are more important than your thoughts and feelings for yourself?
Right,
It's like, mo- especially African American women, we have always put ourselves on the back burner.
right,
And it comes a time because we were told you put everybody first, because if you put yourself first, you're being selfish. Now,
right.
that's not true,
It's not.
but
It's not.
that's the story we were told.
And that's right, you nailed it. We all have we all things in life, including food, but they're all just stories.
Yeah,
They're just stories. Some of them are true and some of them aren't true,
right,
right?
right.
And the reality and from traveling, and anybody else knows from traveling, you get on an airplane, what do they say? They say
Say
put your own
yourself
mask first
first.
and then take care of somebody else. We can't serve from an empty cup, right?
Mm-mm.
We can't serve from an empty cup. We can't serve from a cup that has diabetes. We can't serve from a cup that has hypertension. We can't serve from a cup that has heart disease. And
Right.
and we can serve better when we feel good about how we show up. And as soon as we step out from all this the stuff that's covering us and
Mm-hmm.
blocking our power and blocking our peace and blocking our confidence and our freedom and our joy, then we can serve the people that we love. But we got to get all this stuff off of us.
Right. So why is focusing on changing your relationship with food misguided?
Well, we've been talking about that. We've been talking about that because people, it's like me saying I have a relationship with a curtain. I have a relationship with a door. It is not about it is not about having a relationship with food. It's about having a relationship with ourselves so that we can make smart choices and feel good about those choices, and not feel like we have to justify our choices to anyone else. It's not the food. It's about putting emotions and our feelings and getting clarity around those things. And once we get clarity that it's the story behind the food, not the food itself, then we know it's not a relationship with food, it's a relationship with ourselves.
Right.
So
Because it's about what made me turn my life around was loving myself more than I love some food.
yes,
That's
yes,
what it came down to.
that's it. That's it. Who do you love? Change what you love.
Mm-hmm.
change change what you love. That, oh my God, that is, you hit the
So
nail on the head.
what if we could lose weight without willpower, self dis, dis, self
Yeah.
discipline, self control, and determination?
Ooh, I love that. I love that. So this is actually one of the things that I teach in the course. And I really, it's really having a vision beyond the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And the story that I use, I have two stories that I use, but this is what I have people in the course do is figure out what their happy place is. And that's
Okay.
and that's really your why, but we call it a happy place.
Mm-hmm.
And the story that I use is this is I want you to imagine that you're a young woman and you're about to get married, right?
Okay.
Your intended has finally popped the question. You've been in the game a long time. You got the ring, you
Yeah.
got the thing, and right, yeah, the ring is on it. The right, right. The ring is on it, and you've been shopping and shopping and shopping and shopping for days, weeks, months, and you finally found the dress. You have found the dress. You have looked at 1,000 dresses, and you found the one that is perfect. You have found the one that is perfect, and it's too small. Right, right. And what the attendant had said is, well, if you lose 30 pounds, you can fix this. Your wedding is 6 months off. But if you
Mm.
lose 30 pounds, you can get in this dress. This is the it is a one of a kind dress.
And just the right price.
Thank you. At just the right price. So you get the dress. And here's what happens. As soon as you get that dress and say, I'm going to get in that dress, that overtakes your thinking. The only thing you think about is my wedding day, 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line, and me wearing the dress, me walking down that aisle and people looking at me and thinking about how fabulous I look. I can smell the flowers. I can see the food. I can see the church. If I'm getting married in a field, I can see the field and the flowers. I can see the person that I'm marrying, whoever that is. I can see my bridesmaids. I can see my family. The cake is already done. And I can hear everybody saying how fabulous and wonderful I look on that day in that dress. That is my dream day. And so when it comes to making a decision about, am I going to have the French fries or the hamburgers, or I'm going to have the cake, you don't even see it. You don't have to have determination, willpower, and self-control because you have a vision. The only thing
Oh,
you see
it's
is
all
that
about the mind.
it's all about the mind. You aren't even tempted. You aren't even tempted because the only thing that is driving your decision is that you love the idea of what you're going to look like when you walk down the aisle in that dress.
Tunnel
That
vision.
tunnel
Tunnel
vision.
vision.
On,
I
and
can't see nothing but that dress.
Arnessa, this is why how people how they aren't able to stick to programs, how they fall off diets, is because what they the only thing that they see is that which is keeping them from getting to the goal. The
Hmm,
only thing
hmm.
they see is the French fries. The only thing that
Yeah.
they see is the cake or whatever, the macaroni and cheese. That's what they see. They don't see the goal. So, but if you have a goal that is big enough, that is bright enough, that is juicy enough, that is strong enough, it will dwarf.
Well,
It will
when
dwarf.
when
It
I'm
will dwarf.
coaching people, and no matter what subject it is, relationship, food, I mean, losing weight, marriage, I said, focus on what you want, not what you don't.
Absolutely.
Because people always talk about, well, I don't like how he treats me, and I don't like my job, and I don't focus on that. What do you want?
Exactly.
Focus on what you want.
Absolutely.
There's so
Absolutely.
many people that seems so hard for them.
and and I teach people, that's what I teach people how to do in I Am Brand New. It's like one of the things that I did with when I was exercising, right? And I was walking, and once I really got into it, I had a track that I would walk around, and I had to go I decided I want to go around that track 4 times, right? And so what I did was every time I went around the track, it would be for the next size down.
Mhm.
So the I was at an 18. Okay, when I go around this track this time, only thing I'm thinking about is what I'm going to do when I'm a size 16. When I walk around the track the second time, the only thing I'm thinking about is what I'm going to do when I'm a size 14, and then a size 12, and a size 10. So the whole time I'm walking, I'm fantasizing about the next size down. So it's not even about the walking, it's about the daydreaming, it's about the vision. And the
Mhm.
and that makes you happy. That's how you can be
Yes.
happy. That's how you can be happy on a diet and not feel deprived and not feel like you're missing out and not be jealous of your friends and think that they're having something that you can't have because you're focused on the plate rather than what you're going to look like down the line when you walk out there in your walkout dress. So,
I wrote this book called Your Life Movie. And
mhm,
I believe that we all, our life is like a movie. Now some people have cameras following them, some don't. But you get to create the life that you want. And by creating that life, you need to act and feel like you're already in your movie.
yes.
And that's when stuff, when you start thinking about your life and how you want it to be, even though it's imaginary, but when you start speaking things, because my husband, we've been married like 12 years, and some of the things that I have said, I would pretend like, I was like, even though we're in the front seat, I would pretend like my driver was driving me to an event. And he was like, what are you thinking about? I said, well, I'm thinking about how it's going to feel like when I go and speak somewhere and they have someone to pick me up and they take me to the hotel and all of this. And that's the same thing about the weight. I've been a lot bigger. I was smaller when I got married, but over the years, I have picked up. But
Hmm.
here lately, because especially now since I have a new career at 61, I have this fantastic career. So I got to get my energy level up. And so now I'm seeing myself, like you said, I'm seeing myself moving and grooving and having energy and keeping up because like at work, when I start talking to people and I tell them my age, they're like, "You're 61? You
Right.
don't look like you're 61. You don't act like you're 61." No, because in my mind, I'm like 39. I told my son he turned 39 in
Uh,
January the 3rd. He said, "Mom, I'm gonna be 39." I'm like, "You can't be 39 because
right. Right.
but it's mind over matter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What your if people just knew how awesome our mind is,
Mhm. Mhm.
your whole world will change.
Yes. Yes.
And that's
Yes.
what you're teaching people. So
Yes.
tell us, how can people get in touch with you? And tell us what happened this weekend. Well, was it this weekend?
Yeah. It was just, it was on Sunday.
First tell us how to get in touch with you.
Okay. All right.
So in
So
case somebody need to get a pen, they can
yes. Yes.
come
Yeah.
back
Okay.
and
All right. There are a couple of different ways to get in touch with me. You can go to my Facebook group, which is I Am Brand New Now. I Am
okay.
Brand New Now on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram at I Am Brand New Now. You can hit me up in either one of those places.
Okay.
You can also reach me at I am brand new now at gmail.com if you want to quick click send me a little email.
Okay.
You can download a copy of my book. It's a free chapter, and the book is Leaving Large. It's
Leave
leavinglarge dot
large. Like,
leavinglarge.com.
see
Right.
ya.
Leaving yes.
We want to
See
be
ya.
here.
See you would want to be here. See you would want to be here. So leavinglarge.com. And so just a little bit about I Am Brand New Now. I Am Brand New Now is the basis of my coaching program that, I teach people how to transform the way they think about food through their food stories. It's through by changing their food identity. And that's the way we think, act, feel, and move around food. We all have a food identity that is unique. And that food identity comes from our food stories. And that's the events, the experiences, and our memories of food. And all of that drives our attitudes and our behaviors and our habits around food. So once we change those attitudes, habits, and behaviors, then we change our foods, we rewrite our food stories, we change our food identity, and then we change our bodies by transforming our mind. And so in my course, brand new, it's an 8-week course through transformation, and we start off with a B, where you just begin and believe. We start off with the baby steps. It's real. We make it simple. Then after we do the B, it's rise up above those old food stories, and we reinvent ourselves, right? Then A is accountability and alignment, because there's a battle always between our body, our mind, our stomach, our spirit, and we get that straight, then we can be accountable, right?
Yes.
Because you
Yes.
have to you have to be accountable, because you can't fix that you don't face, right?
Amen.
In order to fix and fix, you got to be accountable to it. And
Yes.
N is the N words, what I call the N words. This is nourishment and nutrition, and that
Mm-hmm.
and that is the only purpose of food. That,
Mm-hmm.
and we have all sorts of reasons, and we talked about it, all those emotional reasons that we attach to food that we eat
Mm-hmm.
in relationship to. But it's just when we get clear that all food, this purpose, because that's when we pray. When we pray, what do we say? Thank you, God, for this food, for the nourishment of our
Nourishment of
body.
body.
We don't
Yes.
say we don't say, God, thank you for this food because it's going to be so much fun. We don't say thank you, God, because I'm bored. We don't say thank you, God, because I need an activity. I need something to do right now. But that's not
That's
what we say.
that's what someone would say. They said, "Oh, you kind of changed." I said, "Yeah, now I eat to live. I don't live to eat."
Absolutely,
Because
absolutely.
all my life it was like, okay, you wake up in the morning, well, I'm gonna eat breakfast. If you eating breakfast, you thinking, okay, what I'm gonna have for lunch?
Yeah,
And
what and
then
what's
like,
good?
it's gonna be
What's
a
good?
snack. And I said, what kind of snack? I
Yeah,
mean, it's
and
like my whole life. I think back, I'm like, most of my life was about what we're gonna eat next.
right. Yeah, what's good? What's good and tasty? And it's always greasy and sweet. Whatever, whatever. All right,
Yes.
so where was that? What was it? I was on N, was on
Yeah, you
nutrition,
talked about your
nourishment,
head. Mm-hmm.
right? And then D. D is DSW, right? Not the shoes, ladies. It's but that's drink, sleep, and right. The very things that every program tells us to do that we always skip over. But if we
Yeah.
do those things first, it makes everything else easier. Drink,
Everything.
sleep, and right. So we're through brand. Then we do N. We do the next N, which is no is the new yes. When we say no to all that food that we think is comfort food, that's really discomfort food, when we say no to the plate in front of us and say yes to the vision in front of us, then that's what we learn how to do. We learn how to say no with grace and feel good about it. We learn how to say no and not feel guilty. We learn how to say no and not hurt somebody's feelings. We learn how to say no and know that there is power in that no. And that power is in the yes that we're saying to our own self, right? Saying to our own self-love. And then E is eat, right? Energy, attention, and time, because this is about change. It's about transformation. It's not going to happen overnight. I didn't gain 60 pounds overnight, right? So we have to be patient with ourselves,
Yeah,
and
you have to.
let the process happen, right?
And each time I lose weight, my body looks different. So you got to know your body not going to look the same every time.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And you also got to know that your body is going to fight you along the way. Because I mean, really, that old fat that's been there for a while. It's like, what do you think you're doing?
I'm not going.
So we have to create a hostile environment. We have to create a hostile environment. Oh, let me get out of here. Let me get out of here. And then the W, the final letter in being brand new, is worth it.
Yes,
it's worth it.
It's definitely worth it.
It's worth it to get your life back. To get, and the thing is, Arnessa, what I realized is that this was I didn't get anything. It was all already inside of me. It was just hidden. Yeah. It was just covered. An awakening. An awakening. Yes. An awakening. And you know, shoot, I feel better at you're 61. You know, you little spring chicken. I feel better. I feel better at 62 than I did at 22.
Me too. My skin is better. It was a collagen peptide. I mean, that is my friend.
Thank you. That's right. Collagen peptide, right? In any form, right? In any form. And so what happened is, so I launched the course on Sunday, and what I had been doing prior to launching the course, I had been working with people privately, and when I launched the course, I still kind of get chills about it. I did a Zoom call like this, and people came on to find out about the brand new program. And I have two options, a $97 option and a $297 option, which you'll see on my Leaving Large page. Or I can send the link. I can send the link to anybody that is interested. But we were on the call, and one of my coaching clients gifted the program, gifted the Food and Movement, which is a $297 program, to a friend of hers. She gifted it to her, one of my clients. And then, you know, I mean, you can do something nice for your friend, but then she gifted 2 more programs to people that were on the call that she didn't even know.
Wow.
And I didn't know that was happening. I know that she was going to do it. I was stunned by it. And yesterday I talked to one of the people that she gifted the program to, and that person said to me, you know, I'm so appreciative of this. I need it. And I'm out of work, but I'm about to start working. And as soon as I start working, I'm going to give the program to somebody else.
Well, Michelle, I know that this is going to keep on. It's going to keep on snowballing, because it's meant to be. It's a good time. People are wanting to lose that quarantine weight.
Yes.
And it's going to happen. So if you missed it, to get in contact with her is I Am Brand New on Instagram and Facebook, and I Am Brand New at gmail.com. Right. Well, Michelle, I want to thank you for being on. Can you realize this hour went by so fast?
Oh my God, it did. Yes.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you. I want the audience to be blessed, live your dreams, and like, share, and subscribe.